Yes, welcome to episode 7 of GarageBand Weekly here on Studio Live today. In today's show, we're talking about new plugins, we're talking about Grammy winners, we're talking about sharing projects, and my rant is about GarageBand on other platforms and the unscrupulous people who tell you that you can get GarageBand on other platforms. But if it is your first time here, you might be thinking, who's this guy and what is this? Well, this is GarageBand Weekly, our weekly show here on Studio Live today, all about GarageBand on your iPhone, your iPad, your Mac, and all of the things that go along with that. And I was saying in the pre-show, it's amazing that I can get, up to 30 minutes of content every week out of GarageBand. I could probably chat for 3 hours about GarageBand, but I won't. We will keep it within the 30 minutes here today. Hello to the folks who are here live. We are streaming live to YouTube and to Facebook. So if you are here live and you have questions, comments, suggestions, your own take on what I'm talking about, I will swing back around and chat to you as the show goes on. But let's jump in to what is in the news. And the news this week is dominated by the fact that, this young girl out of California won a bunch of Grammys, recording not in GarageBand so much, but her and her brother, Phineas, also an excellent artist and producer. And of course, I'm talking of Billie Eilish, producing music in her bedroom, using Logic Pro X is what they were using. I've been watching some videos over the weekend just to kind of catch up because I'm not super into pop music, but I was obviously aware of Billie Eilish and what she has been doing. Wasn't so much aware of the progression and how she actually came into doing what she's doing. Been writing and recording and making music since she was 11. She's now, what is she, 17, 18? Like really young, really good. Her and her brother. Her brother's very keen on the production side. She does a lot of the vocal writing and the ideas. And it is a good success story. What it has actually, it's actually weird, and I don't quite understand this side of it, but it's actually driven a whole lot of controversy, I guess, in the audio creator world, because there's a small subsection of folks in audio creation, who like mix engineers, mastering engineers, recording engineers, who are really unhappy about this because they don't believe that someone should be making music. They think it's going to be mediocre music that you're going to make in your home studio. Now, clearly I disagree with that. I mean, I'm clearly biased on the other side because I run a channel on YouTube all about home and mobile recording, and I have heard so much good music that's been created in the home studio that I kind of think that's, if you were 10 years ago, I might give you a little bit more credit on that to say, you know what, you're right, the gear hasn't quite caught up, the software hasn't quite caught up. But now, as I say, when you record something, you grab an audio interface, you plug it into your iPhone, you're recording 24-bit, 44.1 kilohertz sound. You plug it into a Mac running Pro Tools, you're recording generally 44.1 kilohertz, 24-bit sound. So yeah, you're going to have different tools and different ways to process the sound. But whether you're using GarageBand or Pro Tools or Reaper or Logic or whatever, it's going to pretty much be the same thing. And what I love is that there are people out there producing music and winning awards for it now that are actually doing that. And it's kind of showing that it's changed. And my only advice to people that want to be negative or that want to say, hey, you shouldn't be able to do that. And what about the recording industry? Is this going to destroy the recording industry? Well, the recording industry is moving, is changing, is evolving. And you got two options. You either plant your flag and say, I'm not moving with the industry, this is where I'm at, and get left behind, or you find ways to adapt and to grow and to do things differently so that you can support those that are actually doing it. There are still going to be plenty of people that have zero interest in producing their own music. So I don't think music producers are going to go out of business. If you're a good enough producer and you accept that you're going to have to adapt the way that you do things, I think you're going to be just fine. Maybe there'll be less people that can afford to go and pay $1,000 an hour to someone to record their songs because they can record it on their iPhone, but then they might need someone that they can pay to produce that song or to mix or to master or to help them with that. Anyway, that wasn't my rant. That was in the news. So imagine what the rant's going to be like today. Let's move on. I did a video about a new plugin, and I normally do plugins further down, and I will do it further down in this show, but the new Rough Rider 3 plugin from Audio Damage, very, very cool. So I wanted to mention it again here. And also I mentioned it last week with the Lux plugin from GarageBand. So both really cool plugins that are simple to use, that on the surface, you're like, why would I need these? Don't I already have stock plugins that do this in GarageBand? but they just do something a little bit different. So Lux is like an audio enhancer, a sort of distortion harmonizer kind of thing, saturation flavoring plugin. Very cool. And Rough Rider 3 kind of does similar sorts of things. It's a compressor, but it's a compressor that kind of kicks your mix in the face and makes things punch through. So Rough Rider 3 is for free, and Lux was on special. It may not be anymore, but there are a couple of great plugins that you definitely should check out if you are a GarageBand user. And speaking of GarageBand users, you may notice that I'm today wearing my GarageBand users. There we go. The GarageBand Users Group t-shirt. And I know many of you have come from the GarageBand Users Facebook group, or perhaps you don't know about it and you're now about to go check it out. But yeah, go over to the GarageBand Users Facebook group, and we actually have t-shirts available at cost price that you can pick up over there. I don't make any money from those. I put them out at cost price just because people wanted them, and it's been very cool. The reason I mentioned it here in the news is that we've seen a bunch of folks over there buying those t-shirts and displaying them for all to see. So I know Rick over there, Patrick, a bunch of dudes have all picked up. And I think I say dude, I'm trying to think. Jade's got one. I bought one for Jade. So yeah, it was. I'm like, did I buy a Studio Live Today t-shirt or a GarageBand user? I think I bought the GarageBand users. So yes, a lot of folks have actually got the t-shirts. So yeah, what is it? Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. Try and do that. If you're down. Final bit of news content today is that I'm working on working on a secret project. How secret is it when you tell people? I think I mentioned it yesterday as well, but I'm putting together a GarageBand iOS FAQ so that I can actually have a repository of all of my GarageBand iOS questions. I'm not doing the same with the Mac because I don't know enough about GarageBand on Mac, but for iOS, I think over the last 4 years of creating videos, I've pretty much answered every question. But the problem is when folks come to me with questions, I know what I've created, I know where the videos are, but they are finding it harder to find. So what I want to do is put together a bit of a page, which is a search engine, which basically just has every question. So how do I use a compressor? How do I automate in GarageBand? How do I merge tracks? How do I share tracks? How do I collaborate? All of these questions, I need to have a quick and easy way to do that. So if anyone has ideas on that, ways that they think it should be set up, wants to help me with the development of that, anything like that, let me know. Reach out, pete@studiolivetoday.com, although I am about a week behind on emails. So if anyone's waiting on an email reply from me, I apologize. It has been a hectic week or two, so I'm a little bit behind. So that is what's been happening in the news this week. Jump over to the chat and see if we have anyone here who has got any questions for me. I don't believe so. Jade says that she slept in her GBU shirt last night. Awesome. And Bubba says, I heard GBU is just the bomb. It is. David Anthony getting on board there. Very, very cool. I like this. Who will get the first GarageBand Grammy? Interesting, isn't it? Yeah. I think it won't be me. Just quietly, it won't be me. But never say never, right? But it won't be me. Yes. We'll continue on. Let's jump into rant of the week. I like to rant about things. I know it's an absolute shocker, but there's one thing that's been bugging me a lot lately, and that is dodgy, unscrupulous, nefarious people who are trying to get other people to believe that GarageBand exists on any other platform but iOS and Mac. Let me give you the absolute answer to this. If you ever get someone telling you that GarageBand is available on Windows, on Android, on Chrome OS, I don't know. It is not. It is an Apple product. Apple make Apple software to sell their Apple products. Apple are not going to, never say never. Apple are highly unlikely to port their Apple software designed to sell iPhones, iPads, and Macs to the PC. Same with the Android. They are simply not going to do it. If you know Apple, the company, you know that they're not into that kind of jam. So if you see an article, if you see a link, if you see someone saying, hey, I've got this link, it's for GarageBand version 10.2 on Windows, and I just installed it. Oh, my friend's using it all the time. The first question you need to ask, and what I ask every time is, awesome, can you just send me a video of it in action? because screenshots are all over the place. There are people putting screenshots online, and it's like a screenshot of like what looks like an old version of GarageBand. It's like GarageBand version 1, basically. It's got that old carousel thing that you used to have at the start, like right in the very first version. And then it's like, oh, I can't believe this version of GarageBand Windows really works. And then it'll have like reviews from John in Denver, 5 stars. I'm amazed that GarageBand was installed on my Windows PC. Now I'm creating music like a pro. Yeah, all these things are not only fake, not only will you not get GarageBand, you will probably get a virus, some adware, some spyware, some ransomware, all that fun stuff. So unless you want to be getting sudden pop-ups on your screen asking you for 1,000 Bitcoin to release your computer from their evil clutches, stay away. I know, it is very sad. I have a PC and I would love to have GarageBand. And before I get the well actually, because there's going to be some well actuallys out there, yes, you can make a Hackintosh, and then you can break the terms of service by installing Mac OS on your PC, which is an Intel-based, typically Windows PC, and then you could run using a virtual machine. None of these things I've seen actually work. No one yet. Every person that said to me, well, actually, I run a virtual machine. I can run any Mac software I like because I've installed Mac OS on my virtual machine on my Windows PC. And I say, great. Have you plugged in an audio interface and recorded your microphone or your guitar to your PC in your virtual machine running Mac? No. Why? Because USB support's terrible and the latency is just shocking and it doesn't actually work? Yeah, that. So yeah, I'm not putting this out there to be negative. This is like a public service announcement. This is my PSA to say, be very, very careful. Try to help others as well from this. And it's weird because 2 separate people, not about this issue, but there's a couple of people that have emailed me recently and said, here's the thing, especially because Windows is coming out of Windows 7 is coming out of service. So I know a lot of people are running Windows 7. All of these dodgy spyware and adware companies are jumping on that saying, oh, have you got an unsecure or insecure Windows 7 PC? You need this piece of free software. And then you go there and not only is it not free, but it's actually dodgy adware. Anyway, I will stop ranting on that because, yeah, just be very, very careful out there. If something looks like a news article, but then you look at the web domain and it's like avantivirussolutions.com, then yeah, don't go with that. And the same with GarageBand. If it's called GarageBandForWindows.com, it's like, no, if GarageBand was released for Windows, it wouldn't be on some dodgy domain called GarageBandForWindows.com. Anyway, done. Let's let's jump over. Sorry, I was just like getting so annoyed by that. Bubba says emulators have always been and still are clunky as you know what. Yes, exactly. And some advice here: Mixcraft, as it's the closest thing to GarageBand in Jade's opinion on the PC. So yeah, that's the other thing. If you are looking for something GarageBand like, I have heard Mixcraft is pretty good. Band Labs, like the sort of online solution that a lot of folks are using these days. And I've always used Reaper. Reaper is free to try for 30 days, and it's only like $60 for a license. And it doesn't have all the virtual instrument goodness, but you can add plugins and you can do all that thing. So Reaper is a good option on your PC if you are looking for something like that. Let's move on to the tip of the week. And what we're talking about this week is sharing your projects. So I've had a few questions during the week about sharing projects. So I thought I would do a quick sharing 101 here. I'll bring up GarageBand, even though I'm not really going to show you much in the way of it. But sharing your GarageBand projects, let's go through the basics of this. You can share a GarageBand project in iOS and someone else can open it in iOS, either on the iPhone or the iPad. Only limitation there is around plugins, and especially non-universal plugins, which means plugins only available for iPad. The problem I have is I use the Stark Amp Simulator and other Clevgrind apps. A lot of those are only iPad only. So as soon as I open that project on my iPhone, it will pop up and say, this project is not supported here because you don't got the plugin on that one. So keep that in mind for sharing between iOS devices. You can share an iOS project to a Mac, and then you can open it and do your thing, but you can't share from Mac back to iOS. That's because the Mac version has things like the master track, the arrangement track. It has some other options, automation of plugins, so automation of things that are not just the volume. So there's a lot of features in Mac version that aren't supported in the iOS version, but nothing really in iOS that isn't supported in Mac. So keep that in mind when you're sharing your projects around. Now, when you're sharing out of, so there's two ways to share basically. You're either going to share your project file, which is your .band, like the actual file contents of your project, or you're going to share the actual WAV file or the M4A file. So obviously, if you want to share with someone who then wants to collaborate on a project, you need to share the GarageBand project. If you just want to share the audio, share it as a WAV file or an M4A, which is the compressed file used in the Apple universe. And to actually do this action, here we are. Here's what I prepared earlier. So here I am in my song here. And all we need to do is hit the select button in the top right, tap on it, and then the share button is down here in the bottom left. We tap on that one, and this is where you can share it as either a project or a ringtone or a song. So song will just export the file. I'll show you that in a quick minute. If we share the project though, it's going to pop up here. And then here's the thing. The problem we have at the moment is that often you have to use the open in. Let me just remember. I've got to remind myself if you need to do this. Yeah. So I've hit open in and now it's brought up a bunch of options there. If you don't hit the open in, it's having some issues at the moment with a lot of this stuff. So you can actually share it that way. You can share it to various people. There is a way that you can actually share. I'll show you this one. I'll just do the project thing again. Tap here. You can share to someone. You can add a people to it. Oh no, I'm in the wrong spot. I did that on purpose to actually show you the error of my ways. Okay, so I was in the on my iPhone location there. I was going to show you the share people option, but you can only share with people with something that's in your iCloud Drive. So I've gone into iCloud Drive here now. I'm going to go into GarageBand and let's just find a completed project in here. Oh, they're all, none of them have actually downloaded. Here's one, this project here. So I'm going to go, this is Fence Sitter, one of my songs, open the project there. We go back, we're in this screen here. What we can do is tap select, tap on the project, hit the share button, hit project, and then I'm just going to turn it around. Here it is. So the add people option, that top one there, if I tap on that, what it's actually going to do, it's going to ask me how I want to invite people. And this is cool because this is how you can collaborate on a project. So you can actually collaborate with other people and you can share it with them via any of those options. And I can't see them very well. So you can share it via Messenger, via email, via any of those options. And what it will actually do is it'll go from your email and it will go to them and say, Pete has shared a file on iCloud Drive, and then they can actually open that file. And then you're both working on the same project. So you're able to share it so that someone else can come in and collaborate on the same project with you, which I think is actually pretty cool. A few words of warning. What can actually happen is that when you're working with someone on a project, if you're both editing it at the same time, then you can get into some sort of issues. And the main issue is that if one of you makes a change and the other one makes a change on the same track at the same time, it's going to create some conflict versions. So it like adds your name and your device to the end of it, and it says, we found a conflict, but we fixed it. And what ends up happening is you end up with about 17 different versions of the same project file. So my recommendation with that is when you are collaborating, send it off to someone else and say, okay, the file's yours now. You go in and do your thing. And then they can go in and they can update and add and record and whatever. And then when they're done, they should close the project, save it, close it, send you a message back and say, I'm out of the project. You go in and do your thing. You can both be in there at the same time, but trust me, it creates more problems than it actually fixes. And you can't really both record at the same time. And it just doesn't work that well. But it can be a really effective way. The other thing you could do, and I've got videos about this, if you search Pete Johns Share Zip, you can actually zip up your files and then send the project as a zip file, because the problem with GarageBand project files, especially on iOS, is that they're not compatible with things like Dropbox and Google Drive. So if you want to share your project over, say, Dropbox, which I've done plenty of times, then yeah, you can actually go in there, zip up the file, upload it to Dropbox, and then tell someone, yep, there it is. They then go download it, they do their thing, they save it out, they zip it up, put it to Dropbox, send it back to you. So obviously it takes a few extra steps to do it that way, but it can be a cleaner and safer way to do it because you don't risk those problems of creating lots and lots of versions of your projects. Anyway, if you search my name, search Pete Johns GarageBand Share. I've got about 5 videos on the channel that show you all about these and will give you better demonstrations of how to do all of those things. Alrighty, let us move on. Let us move on because we've only got a few minutes left here today. So let's talk to the plugin of the week. I did allude to it, and it is Rough Rider 3. So if you haven't played with Rough Rider, the plugin, then definitely do so. I won't. I was going to try and show a demo, but I've done a video. I did a live video where I used it for the first time. It does have, so it has a side chaining option, which looks really cool. I haven't actually experimented with it and got it to work yet because it doesn't work directly in GarageBand, at least on the iOS version. I haven't tried it on a Mac. So if anyone has tried Rough Rider 3 on the Mac, please let me know and let me know how you went with it because it does look like it's got some cool options with that side chaining. Apparently you can do it with AUM. So you can get a source, bring it in there and say side chain this plugin to that source. I haven't actually tried it yet, but even just the basic functions of having, your normal attack release ratio, gain selections, that has really worked effectively for me. So when I've been using it in my GarageBand projects, which I used it on my new song. And yes, this was a very sneaky promotion for my new track, but my new song called Imagination, which you heard at the start of this. I'm using it for the theme music for this show now. That has been released now. So that's available everywhere but Spotify. For some reason, Spotify are always just a little tiny bit behind the curve when you're releasing music. But if you search Pete John's Imagination, you'll be able to find my song, and you'll hear that I used Rough Rider on a couple of the tracks there, particularly the drum track. It was already sounding good, but the drums just are popping a little bit more because they've just got a teensy bit of that Rough Rider edge to them now, which just brings them up and sits them in the mix a bit better, I find. So go ahead and do that. The other thing related to that, again, it sounds like I'm using this to segue into promotions for my own stuff, which I am. But yeah, I've got another video coming out. I'm premiering it, and I was talking just before in the pre-show that I'm premiering it today in 3 hours time. I know 4 hours time. Sorry, 4 hours from now, it's being premiered here on the channel. So if you're watching this live, check back in the channel. There'll be a premiere happening. You can set a timer, it'll show you. And the good thing about that is that I'll be there watching it live too. So it's already pre-recorded, it's already ready to play. It's not a live video, it's a pre-recorded video, but you can watch it for the first time as a premiere, and I will be there chatting to any folks that are there. The reason I was laughing at the timing is that I'm not a big NFL, not a big football fan, and yeah, I didn't actually check the date when I set the premiere, and I didn't actually check that it's going to be smack bang in the middle of the Super Bowl. So yeah, hopefully it's going to be around halftime, and folks will need a bit of a break, or we'll go, maybe the halftime entertainment will be no good. So I'm hoping that there'll still be a few folks along. Plus those like me that are not huge football fans may be along. But if you do watch the Super Bowl and you don't catch the premiere, as soon as the premiere is done, it's ready to be rewatched. And I buried the lead a bit, but the reason I'm talking about this video is it's all about distributing. It's all about releasing your music using DistroKid. So I was lucky enough for DistroKid to sponsor this video. They are very cool people. I was using them well before they started sponsoring any of my videos, but they're sponsoring this video, and it's a 3-part guide. So first part is all the things you need to prepare before you release. So if you've never released a song, I go through the fact you need your audio file, your album artwork, your artist name, your track names, your genre, so you can have everything prepared. I then show you how I actually released Imagination, my new song, and then I jump in and answer the 3 most frequently asked questions. How long does it take for my album to get released? Can I edit it after it's been released? And how do I get paid? Because at the end of the day, that's what a lot of folks want to know about it. I mean, it's not just about getting paid, but if you are releasing your music and you're getting to get royalties for it, you probably want to make sure you know how to get paid those royalties. Yeah. So yeah, if you're interested in any of that, please stay tuned later today and join me for that premiere. Should be a lot of fun. Final topic here. Let's talk about GarageBand resource of the week. And this is a bit of a weird one. The resource of the week is the manual. Okay, guys, so no, a lot of folks don't actually know, but there is pretty intensive. Like people say, here's the thing: people come to me and they're like, "Oh, GarageBand's got a very steep learning curve, and I don't know how to use anything." And I say, "Well, have you read the manual?" And they're like, "No, of course I haven't. I don't read manuals." And I say, "That's cool. Neither do I." And we high five and we get on with our life. But there is actually a manual, and because I'm starting to do a lot more of this, a lot more videos on GarageBand, and I've been spending a lot more time on GarageBand, I've started to look at them more. Now, there's 2 ways to get to the manual. Number one way, in fact, I'll go back a step so you can see where I am. Number one way is to go to your settings. So if you go into the settings in the top here, and this is iOS, by the way, and you come down here and you tap on help. I missed it. come down here. Oh, I missed it again. Come down here, tap on help, and it's going to bring up this screen. So it's going to take you into the GarageBand user guide for iPhone, and you can go away and do your thing. Exactly the same on the iPad, and I think it's very similar on the Mac as well. You go to the help option, it takes you into the guide. The Mac, what was I saying? The other way to get to it is to go directly via the web link. So there's a couple of web links down in the description that you can check out that I'll put there, and you can go straight to the interactive online version of both the iPad and the iPhone guides. So check those ones out if you are interested in that. How are we going on time? We are nearly done here today. Oh, hello. We've got it's an invasion. It's an invasion of the family. Hello, Jasmine. Do you use GarageBand? When was the last time you created on GarageBand? A while ago? It's been a while. That was creepy. I'm like, I can hear someone coming. Who is it? It's a daughter. We are going to finish up here just a few moments. I'll just see if we've got any other. So Jay has said, for those unfamiliar, sidechaining means using the output of one track, such as a kick drum, to alter the compression of another track, such as a bass line. That is a very good description. So thank you for that, because I had a few folks asking all about what sidechaining was about. Alrighty, we are good to go, because clearly I've got some important duties to get on to. Got to, just feed my family and do all of those sort of things. But thank you everyone for being here today. I hope you got some value out of this one. If you did enjoy the show, hit the like button. That just tells me that you like these sort of things. Subscribe to the channel so that I can get lots of subscribers and put that one through school. And until next time, I will see you on the next video here on GarageBand Weekly. Take care, folks. See ya.